Meganova Mama Gail here with Elise and Ryan Cook. Ryan, welcome.
Hello, nice to be here.
Great to have you with us. You are one of the first members on our website, and we're really happy to be able to interview you here at a show in Halifax. How's your summer been going? You've been doing a lot of touring, and how's it been for you?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a great year. I've been busy the last 3 or 4 years, traveling, doing most of my work in Ontario, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. Pretty much the three spots where I play. And I just got back from doing Meganova Country Music Festival in Calabogie, who would have thought? And that was about 2 weeks ago. And what have I been doing? A lot of shows in the Ottawa Valley area. It seems to be a place that I've been frequenting a lot lately. And the rest of the summer will be some festivals and pretty busy. I'll be working every week from now until September, so I'm just thankful for that.
That's excellent. You say you've been touring now for about 3 years, and interestingly enough, you have 3 albums. You have Hot Times, Peaks and Valleys, and Wrestling with Demons. Would you say that that's been a storyboard of what your last 3 years have been?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely how it's gone. I guess it's actually been probably 4 years that I've really been going full out. Let's see, started touring around early 2009, so we're halfway through 2013. First record I made, well, I co-produced all the albums with Scott Ferguson, who has a studio called Ferguson Music Studio, FMP Studios in Dartmouth. So you'll have to go check that out sometime if you're ever in the area.
Well, yes, I actually used them to produce our show,
Oh,
so we were in good company.
So it's a small world, a little bit. It tends to be. Yeah, and so the first album was a full band. Second album I made most of it in Nashville actually, and I mixed and mastered with Scott in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And then Wrestling with Demons was the first album that I tried to actually take as much of the band atmosphere out of it and make it a little bit more sparse in production, because most of the shows that I do now are solo, like just me, or maybe with an accompanist, like a guitarist or a steel guitarist or something. I only play about probably maybe 10 shows a year with a band, and that's sort of for special functions and things. So I wanted to have an album that would translate the show that I do live, but would still be interesting enough to keep people's attention. Because people have a great time at a concert, even if it's just a guitar and voice, but it's different if they're on the highway in their car listening. Sometimes they need a lot of other things to distract them, keep them busy. So probably the next album that I make will probably be even closer to just me and a guitar. Eventually I'll make an album that'll just be me and a guitar, or maybe just me, maybe just be spoken word.
There is a big difference between this last CD and the previous one in terms of arrangement. It seems that you are putting a distance between you and the traditional Nashville Southern sound.
Right.
Is it an evolution for you? Is it something, it's because you have more confidence and you want to be a bit off track? Where does this come?
I think the biggest difference that you hear when you listen to those two albums is that the new album that I have, Wrestling with Demons, there's no drums. So that one little change makes a really big difference sonically, because drums really kind of are the central thing that tie everything together in a rock or pop production, or in country most of the time. So the album, we tried to give it a sound that would be, I guess, maybe more from the 50s kind of era, maybe 40s, 50s. We tried to make it a little rough around the edges. I shouldn't say that we tried to make it that. We tried to let it be a little rough around the edges. And so it would be a harder sell for radio. Okay, but that was okay with me, because I feel like I'm at a point now where I'm making music for the people that I am aware of that are my fans, right? So, I'm really more concerned about that, whereas in the past few years I would have been equally concerned about radio and eventually getting a music video. But now my goals and have changed a little bit, and I'm really more interested in a smaller, more niche following. The people that seem to like my music, I like them. They're all really cool people, the ones that I meet, and I just happy making music for them and for myself for now. And if we can get enough people together on board, then then eventually I won't need maybe the radio. Won't matter if we can get enough people. So.
Well, I understand where you come from, and you have been posting during the summer videos that you've recorded, I believe, from your iPhone or whatever, and people had to send you some songs. They didn't have to be country related, and you would be there. I figured out that at some point you were by the beach or in the middle of nowhere, and you were in a car, I think, and you started to play those songs. Is it a way for you to be very close to your audience, to your fan? Because we don't see that very often.
Well, I'm flattered that if it comes across that way, because I never really intended anything when I started doing that. I just one day there was this song that I remember hearing from when I was young that I thought was a really challenging song. It was a song that was made famous by, well, I don't even know if it's a famous song, but it was Herb Alpert. Mm-hmm. So it was very outside the country field. And it's a bit operatic of a vocal performance, and it's very jazzy and stuff. And one day I just sat down to learn it early in the morning, and it was early enough and a nice enough day out. I thought, well, I'll never remember all these chords and all these words, so why don't I film it and then see if anybody likes it. And from there, I got the idea that I thought, hey, I could probably spend, 4 or 5 hours each week just learning songs that are not country. The reason I wanted to make songs that weren't country was because it would be a challenge and it would be fun because it's nice to hear songs, a country version sometimes of songs, like with the finger style guitar and stuff. And so so then I thought, so the other thing that was cool about that was that, and I'm still doing it, it's not past tense, but it allows me to see what kind of music that the people that like my music like, which was very interesting to me. I didn't realize that so many people like the Beatles, and I'd never listened to the Beatles in my whole life. I've only heard just songs on the radio in passing, so it forced me to listen to some and so all good things coming of it, I think.
What I found also interesting from the other side, as a person watching you, it was the fact that you hit some notes that were very interesting, and it was sometimes the way you sung was very far away from Wrestling with the Demons, because it was very romantic, and the notes, the sound that came out of it, it was really, really interesting.
Well, I would my tastes are pretty broad. I would like to do non-country music too. The thing about the country thing for me is that when I started doing country music, as you can tell by the way I'm dressed and the way I look, I used to sing in a heavy metal band. Mm-hmm. So I spent most of my life singing and screaming in punk and heavy metal bands. And when I started doing country music, it was really primarily out of self-amusement, because I was really just entertaining myself. And I wanted to see what the reaction would be amongst my friends who all played in rock bands. If I could put out a country album and if I could work really hard and get some good people playing on it, could I impress any of my friends and either make them laugh or just entertain them with it? And then what happened was interesting was that I did it, and then people liked it, but they liked it a little more than I expected them to. And then,
and then you got trapped.
Yeah, I'm trapped. So it was a happy accident. So I shouldn't really be here right now doing this interview, but vicariously through a few decisions that I made in my life, I've wound up here. You get to be really careful of the decisions you make when you're younger. If anybody out there watching, because some decisions you make can stay with you the rest of your life.
Okay. I'd like to know, do you have a musical background? Do you come from a family with a musical background, or is it just a passion that you found to express yourself?
I have a little musical background in my family. My my grandmother played piano and organ in church, and my grandfather used to sing on my father's side. On my mother's side, I don't remember anybody that played an instrument specifically. My uncle played a little bit of guitar. So really I didn't have very much, but just enough to get an instrument into my hands. And of course I love music my whole life, since I was about 6 or 7 years old. So but interestingly enough, even though there's really not much music history in my family, my brothers and father all now play guitar and are actually like pretty good at, and my brother plays harmonica and stuff.
So you've inspired them.
Well, maybe, but we've started a generation now that in 2 or 3 generations down the road, they'll say, oh yeah, I come from a real musical family.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really great. I do notice that you have a wonderful sense of humor. You often add it, or you do add it in each album. How important is it for you to show that side, to show the humor in your music?
Well, it's important because, like I said, when I started doing the country music, it was a bit of a novelty, and it still always has been. I never really, so it allows me to, I guess, to not take myself so seriously, and which I think is a strength. And I'm trying to just concentrate on my strengths and not my weaknesses these days, because it seems like the best thing for creativity and for me to get better at what it is that I do. So. But the humor, a lot of it was already there, I guess, maybe. I just, it's probably just my outlook on life and the way that I see the world. You know, everybody sees the world in their own way. So that's probably really, it's just in a simplest form, that's all that it is. But my last album, the satire was raised, and it has a lot more satire than any other album that I did. And I think that's because when I started performing just myself and the guitar on stage, you have to do a lot to make up for everything that's missing, and humor seems to be something that can really make up for the loss of a band. You can have a whole room of people laughing and entertained and feeling fulfilled with humor, and so I found that just naturally the songs I started writing were just went in that direction. And the more that I would play songs that made my audience smile and have a good time, the more that made me have a good time. And naturally I just wanted to make that kind of music. So I try to focus on laughter, like to laugh and love. Those are basically the 2 central themes in my music. And live, laugh, and love, I guess, are the 3 things I try to hit on. Yeah. So
and I was wondering if you could, reflecting on that, maybe give some advice to some new and emerging artists on being able to find the resolve, to find the laughter, the love, and the humor, in order to carry on and do what their passion drives them to do.
Well, I think that everybody's journey in music is going to be very different, and a lot, and most will be a lot different than mine. But if I had to give encouragement to anybody doing anything creatively, I guess it would be to try and find whatever it is that is you, essentially. For me, it might be my humor or my outlook, and to just be as true to that as you can, you know. It's so much easier to write about things that you know because it sounds authentic. And so that's a big key thing. And as you can see, like again, I got to a point where now I'm comfortable just being myself. For many years, I had a cowboy hat on and Western shirts and all that stuff, and I've gone all the way back to looking like I did before I got into country music. So you never know where things are going to go, and I just feel comfortable kind of, well, partially it's really, really hot out today too, so that's partially why I'm not wearing sleeves, but normally I wear sleeves on stage. But yeah, it's just to try and be yourself, and if by being yourself that is interesting and unique, then that's going to go a long way for you.
So I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
All right, but I'm only going to give you 2 answers.
Okay.
Now, if you can come up with a better answer than the 2 I give you, that's great. I don't mind at all.
Okay.
Okay. So if I say the word Mustang, do you think car or horse?
There is no wrong answer. It's
There's no wrong answer.
Okay, a car.
Okay.
Great. This is great.
What-
I'm excited.
If
I like stuff
You
like
seem
this.
excited.
We should have done this on stage during my show.
If I say pick,
Mhm.
do you think ice or guitar?
I would think guitar.
Okay. Should I say branding, would you think cattle or marketing?
Well, it might depend on which you said first, but yeah, marketing.
Marketing. Okay. Brush, hair or drums?
Probably hair.
If I say arena, do you think concert or rodeo?
I actually don't think either with arena. With arena, I think anything from hockey to wrestling to boxing to music. I think of a place like the Halifax Metro Center over here. So I wouldn't necessarily think music wouldn't be maybe the first place I would go.
And see, this is why you're on our site, because you think outside the box.
Oh.
And so do we. So thank you.
Okay.
One more question.
Okay.
If I say Meganova, do you think website or star?
Well, if you would have asked me 3 weeks ago, before I saw a website with Meganova on it, I would probably say star. But right now, given the shirt you're wearing and the microphone that you're holding, I'm feeling like it's closer to a website. Well, actually, it's closer to not a website, but it's closer to a movement or something that I'm a part of for sure right now.
If we say mamas, what do you think?
If you say mamas, what do I think?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of think that
Meganova mamas.
that's what I think.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much.
Thank
That's sweet of you.
Yeah. I like that. I like the way you said that question. You got me excited. I don't know why.
About the mamas?
Yeah. Just the look in your eye, I was like, whoa.
Well, we can
What was the word? Mama. Yeah.
We also